This video is a look at what was available for passenger cars coming out of World War II. The carryover cars, not what was new. That will be saved for next time. With American car production being stopped in 1943, and other countries' production stopped even earlier, most brands restarted in 1946, where they'd left off. Those that could anyway. Others took a bit longer. The small 46 Studebaker was priced at $1,000 to $1,200. Wheelbase was 110 inches. It had an 80 horsepower, 2.8 liter, 170 cubic inch straight six, and weight ranged from 2,500 to 2,600 pounds. The smallish Ford ran on a 114 inch wheelbase with 10 body styles, with a $1,000 to $2,000 price range. Weight was 3,000 to 3,500 pounds, and you could get a 3.7 liter, 226 cubic inch straight six with 90 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque, or a 3.9 liter, 239 cubic inch V8 with 100 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of torque. The flathead V8 could do 80 miles an hour and get to 60 in less than 20 seconds. The slightly bigger Plymouth's 117 inch wheelbase and 7 body styles weighed 3,000 to 3,400 pounds. Its engine was a 3.6 liter, 218 cubic inch six with 95 horsepower and 172 pound-feet of torque, and prices ranged from $1,100 to $2,000. 60 came in under 21 seconds, and it could do nearly 80. Chevrolet's 116 inch wheelbase was also offered in 7 body styles, in the $1,200 to $1,500 price range. Power came from a 3.5 liter, 216 cubic inch stove bolt straight six with 90 horsepower and 174 pound-feet of torque, in cars also ranging from 3,000 to 3,400 pounds. It could do almost 75 miles an hour and hit 60 in 22 seconds. The Dodge also had 7 body styles, on 120 and 138 inch wheelbases, weighing 3,200 to 3,800 pounds. A $1,200 to $2,200 price range got you a 3.8 liter, 230 cubic inch, 102 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque, straight six. It had a top speed of 80 miles an hour and took just over 20 seconds to reach 60. Nash came in 7 body styles on 112 and 121 inch wheelbases, weighing in at 2,700 to 3,500 pounds. Prices ranged from $1,300 to $2,400, and the straight six came in 2.8 liter, 173 cubic inch, 82 horsepower, 138 pound-feet of torque, and 3.9 liter, 235 cubic inch, 112 horsepower, 208 pound-feet of torque versions. The Ambassador could get to 60 in less than 17 seconds and almost reach 80 miles an hour. DeSoto shared the Chrysler's 122 and 140 inch wheelbases and was available in 8 body styles. Prices ranged from $1,300 to $2,600. Weight was 3,300 to 4,000 pounds. And the engine was 109 horsepower, 192 pound-feet of torque, 3.9 liter, 237 cubic inch straight six. Lighter versions took 20 seconds to get to 60 and topped out just over 80. Pontiac came on 119 and 122 inch wheelbases in 10 body styles. Engine was a 3.9 liter, 239 cubic inch straight six with 90 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque, or a 4.1 liter, 249 cubic inch straight 8 with 103 horsepower and 190 pound-feet of torque. Weight ranged from 3,300 to 3,700 pounds, and prices from $1,400 to $2,500. 0 to 60 came in 18.5 seconds in a Torpedo 8, climbing up to 80 miles an hour. Oldsmobile came in 119, 125, and 127 inch wheelbases, and 6 body styles, weighing 3,600 to 4,000 pounds. Prices range from $1,400 to $2,600, and engines included a 3.9 liter, 238 cubic inch, 100 horsepower, 185 pound-feet of torque straight six, or a 4.2 liter, 257 cubic inch straight 8 with 110 to 115 horsepower and 204 pound-feet of torque. A 78 dynamic cruiser hit 60 in the low 17s and was capable of speeds over 70 miles an hour. Mercury's ranged in price from $1,500 to $2,200, using the 3.9-liter, 239 cubic inch, 100 horsepower, 180 pound-feet of torque Ford V8. There were 7 body styles on the 118-inch wheelbase, weighing 3,200 to 3,500 pounds. 60 arrived in the mid-18-second range, and the top speed was 80. Buick offered 121, 124, and 129-inch wheelbases in 4 body styles, with a 4.1-liter, 248 cubic inch straight 8, with 110 to 115 horsepower and 206 pound-feet of torque, or a 5.2-liter, 320 cubic inch 8, with 144 to 150 horsepower and 276 pound-feet of torque. The cars weighed 3,700 to 4,400 pounds and cost $1,500 to $3,400. A Roadmaster did 60 in just under 6 seconds and could do more than 85 miles an hour. Chryslers came in 122, 128, 140, and 146-inch wheelbases in 14 body styles, with the bigger ones being Imperials. Prices range from $1,500 to $4,800 and weight from 3,500 to 4,900 pounds. You could get a 4.1-liter, 251 cubic inch straight 6 with 114 horsepower and 204 pound-feet of torque, or a 5.3-liter, 324 cubic inch straight 8 with 135 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque. The quickest versions did 60 in about 17.5 seconds and topped out at 85 miles an hour. The 46 and 47 Hudson started a bit high for a mid-priced car at $1,700 to $2,200. There were 6 body styles on the 121-inch wheelbase, weighing in at 3,200 to 3,400 pounds. You had your choice of a 3.5-liter, 212 cubic inch straight 6 with 103 horsepower and 168 pound-feet of torque, or a 4.2-liter, 254 cubic inch straight 8 with 128 horsepower and 193 pound-feet of torque. The 8 was a mid-19-second car to 60 with a top speed of about 85. The 46 and 47 Packards came in 120, 127, and 148-inch wheelbases, and 4 body styles. Engines included 105 horsepower, 192 pound-feet of torque, 4-liter, 245 cubic inch straight 6, a 4.6-liter, 282 cubic inch, 125 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque straight 8, and a 5.8-liter, 356 cubic inch, 165 horsepower, 292 pound-feet of torque straight 8. Prices ranged from $1,700 to $4,500, and weight was from 3,500 to 4,900 pounds. A Super Clipper could do 60 in 14 seconds and topped out at 85 miles an hour. The post-war Cadillac of 1946 and 1947 came in 126, 129, 133, and 136-inch wheelbases, and 9 body styles. Cars weighed between 4,000 and 5,000 pounds, with the only engine being a 5.7-liter, 346 cubic inch, 150 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque V8. Prices range from $2,000 to $5,000. The lightest versions could hit 60 in just over 15 seconds, and the top speed was over 90. The post-war Lincoln was the big-money American car, with prices starting at $2,400, and the Continentals at over $4,600. Base models came in 4 body styles, and Continentals in 2. Wheelbase was 125 inches, and the only engine was the 4.8-liter, 292 cubic inch V12 with 125 horsepower and 220 pound-feet of torque. Weight was between 4,000 and 4,200 pounds. 60 came in the low 17-second range with an 85-mile-an-hour top speed. The biggest American cars were typically tested at 11 to 12 miles per gallon, while the popular mainstream models were usually around 15 to 16 miles per gallon. although these tests rarely included any kind of highway miles. And it was long before any kind of EPA mileage rating standards. European models tended to have more distinct styling from each other than just length and trim packages. But from Britain, you could get a Hillman Minx Mark I, which had a starting price of around $600, and a 1200cc 35 horsepower inline 4. It weighed about 2,200 pounds on a 92-inch wheelbase and came in 5 body styles. It could do more than 60 miles an hour, but it took almost 55 seconds to get there. Mileage was in the low 20s. The Morris had an 89-inch wheelbase with a 918cc 29 horsepower inline 4 and weighed 1,700 pounds, or a 94-inch wheelbase and an 1140cc 37 horsepower 48 pound-feet of torque engine, weighing 2,100 pounds. With the bigger engine, it was about a second quicker than the Hillman, with similar mileage and top speed. The Vauxhall was offered in 5 body styles in 3 versions: a 1.2-liter 32 horsepower inline 4 on a 94-inch wheelbase, a 1.5-liter 40 horsepower inline 4 on an 101-inch wheelbase, and a 1.8-liter 48 horsepower inline 6 on an 105-inch wheelbase. You could get a Sunbeam Talbot 2-liter, which came in 3 body styles and had 56 horsepower, but only 1,300 were made, both before and after the war combined. The carryover Austins were available in 89, 94, and 104-inch wheelbases, weighing between 1,800 and 3,100 pounds, offered with a 900cc, 27 horsepower, 37 pound-feet of torque, an 1,100cc, 32 horsepower, 55 pound-feet of torque, a 1.5-liter, 42 horsepower, 70 pound-feet of torque, or 2.2-liter, 70 horsepower, 107 pound-foot of torque, inline 4. A Model 16 could get to 60 in under 25 seconds, nearly reach 75 miles an hour, and get about 15 miles a gallon. The Rover P2 came in 106, 112, and 115-inch wheelbases, and in 3 body styles, weighing 2,800 to 3,200 pounds. Available with 1.4 and 1.5-liter 4s with 44 horsepower and 70 pound-feet of torque, or 48 horsepower and 74 pound-feet of torque, or 1.9-liter or 2.1-liter inline 6s with 60 horsepower and 92 pound-feet of torque, or 72 horsepower and 107 pound-feet of torque. A Model 16 hit 60 in about 22.5 seconds and could top 80 miles an hour and still get 18 miles to the gallon. There were a limited number of post-war Mark I Humber Hawks, which used a 2-liter inline 4 with 56 horsepower and 96 pound-feet of torque on a 114-inch wheelbase, and sold in England for roughly $1,000, while the Snipe came in 114 and 117-inch wheelbases, weighing in at 3,500 to 3,700 pounds, with either a 65 horsepower 2.7-liter straight 6 or an 100 horsepower 186 pound-feet of torque 4.1-liter. The Hawk took nearly 33 seconds to get to 60 and topped out just over 70, while the Snipe could do over 80 and get to 60 in about 18.5 seconds. A Daimler DB18 Consort came on a 114-inch wheelbase using a 2.5-liter straight 6 with 70 horsepower and 117 pound-feet of torque and weighing 3,400 to 3,700 pounds. It topped out at 75 miles an hour, getting to 60 in about 31.5 seconds. The SS Jaguar was renamed Jaguar Mark IV when it was reintroduced in 1945. It came in your choice of a 1.8-liter inline 4 with 62 horsepower and 92 pound-feet of torque on a 113-inch wheelbase, or a straight 6 on a 120-inch wheelbase in 2.7-liter or 3.5-liter with 102 horsepower and 144 pound-feet of torque, or 125 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. Weight ranged from 3,100 to 3,900 pounds, and the quickest versions got to 60 in the high 14s and could do better than 90 miles an hour. From France, The Simca 5 was identical to the early Fiat 500, with the same 79-inch wheelbase and 13 horsepower, 20 pound-foot of torque, 570cc inline 4, and weighing 1,200 pounds. It cost 14,000 francs, or about $600, and was tested at 21 miles per gallon, but owners have claimed better than 50. Renault's Juva Quattro had a 1003cc inline 4 with 23 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque. The 93-inch wheelbase came in 5 body styles, and it cost $1,800 in the US. It couldn't quite reach 60, but averaged better than 20 miles per gallon. The Peugeot 202 was offered in 90 and 104-inch wheelbases and 4 body styles, starting at 2,000 pounds, using an 1133cc inline 4 with 30 horsepower and 45 pound-feet of torque. It could top 60 miles per hour, but took nearly 2 minutes to get there. Citroen's front-wheel drive traction Avant came in 115, 122, and 128-inch wheelbases, weighed 2,200 to 2,600 pounds, came in 4 body styles, and used either a 2-liter, 55 horsepower, 88 pound-feet of torque inline 4 or a 2.9-liter, 76 horsepower, 143 pound-feet of torque inline 6. It could do almost 80 and hit 60 in just over 20 seconds. The Delahaye used a 3.6-liter inline 6, which ranged from 89 horsepower and 173 pound-feet of torque up to 128 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. It came on a 116 or 124-inch wheelbase, weighing 2,800 to 3,600 pounds. Most had coach-built bodies. It could reach nearly 100 miles an hour and got to 60 in less than 14 seconds. A Talbot, or Talbot Lago, T26 record had a 4.5-liter inline 6 with 170 horsepower on an 123-inch wheelbase. Even the saloon was said to be able to do well over 125 miles an hour, and it hit 60 in 14 seconds or less. German cars were hard to come by. The DKW F8 had a 100-inch wheelbase and either a 18 horsepower, 35 pound-feet of torque 600cc or a 20 horsepower, 42 pound-feet of torque 700cc 2-stroke 2-cylinder. The 5 body styles ranged in weight from 1,500 to 2,000 pounds. Top speed was just over 50, and it still only averaged mileage in the high teens. The Nazi-developed Volkswagen Type 1, later known as the Beetle, weighed 1,800 pounds on a 95-inch wheelbase and cost $1,200 when it arrived in the U.S. Horsepower ranged from 25 to 30 from its 1,100cc flat 4, and it was rated at 35 miles to the gallon. All that was left of Mercedes-Benz was the 170V on an 112-inch wheelbase with a 1.7-liter, 38 horsepower, 72 pound-feet of torque engine. It came in 6 body styles, got 24 miles to the gallon, and cost $2,800 to $3,900 marks, or $1,500 to $2,000. 60 took over 45 seconds, and 70 was just beyond its reach. BMW brought back the 326 with its 2-liter 55 horsepower straight 6 on an 113-inch wheelbase and weighing 2,400 pounds, but only 16 post-war versions were made before transitioning to a new model. Italy was also in bad shape. The Fiat came on a 95-inch wheelbase with an 1100cc inline 4 with 32 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque, weighing 2,000 pounds, or a 1,500cc inline 6 with 46 horsepower and 56 pound-feet of torque on an 110-inch wheelbase weighing 2,600 pounds. Both were offered in saloon and convertible. The bigger car took nearly 40 seconds to get to 60 and would eventually get above 70. The Lancia Aprilia used a 108-inch wheelbase and could be had as a family saloon or a sports roadster, either one with a 1,500cc, 48 horsepower, 74 pound-feet of torque V4 and weighing about 2,000 pounds. It could almost do 80 and got to 60 in just over 22 seconds, while averaging better than 25 miles per gallon, while the smaller Ardea used a smaller 900cc V4 with 28 horsepower and 44 pound-feet of torque. The Saloon used a 94-inch wheelbase and weighed just over 1,700 pounds, but it could also be had as a pickup or van on a 96-inch wheelbase, or as a 116-inch wheelbase taxi. The standard versions could do 65 miles an hour and get there in about 50 seconds. Other European models included the Tatra T87 on an 112-inch wheelbase with a rear-mounted 3-liter 85-horsepower V8 and weighing 3,000 pounds. It cost 25,000 Swiss francs and could exceed 100 miles an hour. Production of the Skoda carried on through the war for the Royal Army, and Volvo had the PV800 Taxi, or SAO, with an 128-inch wheelbase and a 3.7-liter 85-horsepower straight six. There was a Japanese auto industry before the war, but it was very small. There may have been a few Datsun 17s produced after the war, or at least towards the end of the war. The Austin-based car used a 722cc, 16-horsepower, 27 pound-feet of torque inline 4 on a 79-inch wheelbase and weighed 1,400 pounds. Toyota had built around 2,000 pre-war cars, and the AC continued for a short period afterwards. It had an 112-inch wheelbase, weighing 3,400 pounds, and a 3.4-liter 60-horsepower inline 6 based on the Chevy Stovebolt 6. A total of 50 were made. But soon there would be big changes in the global auto industry, which we will look at in our next video in this series. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment below and like and subscribe.